Listening to the sound.
I just wanna tell the truth. I just wanna tell the truth. I just wanna tell the truth. I just wanna tell the truth.
Hi, for those who do not know me, my name is Lori Edwards Azuru, and I wrote a book called Why Do You Cry? This is part 2, as promised, Rita. This is the second storm, and the reason why I named part 2 Rita is because of the storms down south. The first storm was, of course, Katrina, and the second storm that followed after was Rita. Rita wasn't as deadly as Katrina, but after the damage of Katrina, Rita was not needed. They didn't need another storm because it just basically crippled you even worse than the first storm did. And the reason why I call my story Katrina is soon after my divorce. I believe I was divorced maybe about a year and I don't know, maybe a year and 3 months. It wasn't very long after my divorce. I had met someone and I was still living in like a state of rebellion toward God. And I married someone very quickly after my divorce, and I should have waited and healed, but I considered myself wanting to be a married woman, trying to escape the turmoil of being single. Did not want to be single, especially after being married for so long. And most women who have been married really don't like singlehood and don't like the ideal of having to reinvent yourself. It's like an identity crisis that you have. If you've been a married woman for a very long time and you get a divorce, you don't know who you are. All you know is your husband, your kids, your family, and it's very hard to change your identity so quickly. And so I reverted back to my old identity as being a married woman, thinking that everything would be okay just because this is what I wanted to do. So in the process of doing that, I wasn't married for very long. My ex-husband was very abusive. He was bipolar, like really diagnosed as being bipolar. He had some issues, but I did not understand the bipolarness until after I got into psychology, and it's like, wow, that's exactly what he was. And so I don't completely blame him for his bipolarness, but he knew his mom was on medication before she died, and his sister was on medication for bipolar. And I just think he was sort of in denial and didn't think he needed to be on medication, although he really did need to be on medication. Moving on. One of the things that I learned by the storm Rita was to, if you have friends and you know that they're dating someone they shouldn't, or that you know that they're getting close to marrying someone that they shouldn't, speak up. Even if you don't think that they hear you, speak up. And for me, I guess I had family who tried to tell me or to warn me, but it was just maybe the way that they tried to warn me. I was just so headstrong and did not want to listen, and I just was not in a good place. But there is one person, even the lady, the prophetess lady, who was supposed to be helping me through my process. It's in my book. You'll have to get the book to really understand the story of this woman. She's the one who basically rescued me, but she was also the one who married me and this man. And after we stood up and said our vows, she said to me, "Good luck, because you're gonna need it." She knew that I shouldn't have married him, and had she told me herself, that was someone who I trusted. I mean, really honestly trusted and knew me. Had she told me and shook me and said, "Do not marry him," no, don't marry him, I wouldn't have married him. It didn't really matter what other people were saying, but for some reason I had a lot of trust in this particular person. So if you find yourself in that position and you have the opportunity to say something, please, even if they don't listen to you, please say it. So that is one of the things I learned, and I learned to be strong and to fight. I wasn't married for very long because I knew I wasn't going to put up with that type of behavior. The behavior was, it's in the book. I'm not going to tell you his behavior, but it was just crazy, unspeakable. And the reason why I wrote, not to expose him, but to expose that type of behavior, so when you meet someone, you can relate and say, "Ooh, that reminds me of that, or that reminds me of that. That's the whole purpose of me putting all of these stories and their actual journals in the book, is to show you contrast in different types of men that may remind you of something that you went through, and maybe that person told you, oh, you're crazy, you're making that up, there's no way, that's not true, and I knew it was, but I couldn't prove it because I really couldn't talk to anybody about it. And my book is like talking to someone. You're getting an inside scoop on really what's going on behind the scenes within my mind. And it was like I couldn't talk to friends. I just did not have it in me to say anything because I was already feeling bad about getting married against everyone's wishes, and then having to deal with that, and then tell people and have them tell you I told you so was like a slap in the face. It was even worse. So that's another reason why I wrote the book, because I don't really care now, because God has healed me, and he has used my sorrow, my pain, my stupidity to be able to give others, to take away the excuse that they didn't know. And I believe that's why God allowed me to go through it and allowed me to persevere through it. So it would be for someone else's good, not only for my good and for his glory, but for the good of someone else. This is going to be a shorter video with Rita, because I would prefer that you read the book and to get a gist of what's going on, because I don't want it to sound like it's one-sided. And the story is very intense about him. It's just maybe 3 or 4 pages in the book, but it's very important that you pick that up and you read it. And I do give away books, by the way. So if you contact me and paper shipping, I may ship you a book. We'll talk. And I do give away a lot of books as seeds. Those who can pay for them, they're $10. But if you can't pay for them, then I am more than willing to give away a book. I don't have a problem with that. Well, I'm going to quit rambling, and I hope to... the next video I'm going to do is called Shipwrecked. This is after the storms, after both storms. Ships turned over. There's nothing but a mess left. My whole life is totally shipwrecked. So part 3, stay tuned for part 3. God bless.
You're listening to The Sound.